things are going crazy in the world, and we're getting a little behind. There's a backlog of all the craziness that needs to be discussed. And we're going to fix that right now.
This is really Just Stop. Here's Ross, the host with today's dose of common sense.
Hey, how you doing? Welcome back. Well, planes being shot down, planes crashing on their own due to potential bird strikes. There's the Elon Musk presidency, as it's jokingly being called, with Vice President Trump, because Trump seems to be just kind of following whatever Musk says. That's a little troubling. And then, of course, there's Luigi Mangione and all the latest things that have been going on with him. And it's all strange. Some of it can have serious implications for mankind. Some just make for an interesting story. So, Luigi Mangione, are they trying to turn him into a folk hero for killing that United Healthcare CEO? Is that what's happening? People have been talking about it. People have suggested such things. People have actually said that he should be rewarded for what he did, but nobody should be promoting violence. Nobody should be celebrating a murder. But it kind of seems like some people are doing that. And he's making some money on the deal, which is strange. Let's go to the screen share, if I can do that with this button. There we are. Hey, look, it's there. So now I'm going to scroll through some of this, but just so you know, you're going to see a lot of targeted marketing targeted at me, and it's mostly going to be audio equipment. There's going to occasionally be some gun-related stuff, or maybe, hey, meet the single Asian women near you. But you shouldn't be judging me on my advertising. But we're going to go to ABC News, and we're going to look at an article by Bill Hutchinson titled "Defense Fund Established by Supporters of Suspected CEO Killer Luigi Mangione Tops $200,000. Yeah, he's making some good money on there. And it appears that more than one fundraiser was established as a legal defense fund for him. Several of them have already been shut down. So Give, Send, Go seems to be the place where he's making the money right now, because it's the only place that kept the fundraisers up. Anyway, the way Bill describes it, several online defense funds have been created for Mangione by anonymous people, including one on the crowdfunding website Give, Send, Go that as of Tuesday morning had raised over $200,000. The Give, Send, Go Defense Fund for the 26-year-old Mangione was established by an anonymous group calling itself the December 4th Legal Committee, apparently in reference to the day that Mangione allegedly ambushed and gunned down Thompson in Midtown Manhattan as the executive walked to his company's shareholders conference at the New York Hilton Hotel. So, making some money. People tried to do other crowdfunding for his defense on what's the name of the place? GoFundMe. I guess somebody had set up a couple of different GoFundMe accounts, and GoFundMe shut them down and refunded everybody's donations because they said we don't do that sort of thing. You're not allowed to do fundraising for a criminal act or a criminal, those sorts of things. So they shut it down, but Give, Send, Go doesn't give a shit. They don't care. Give, Send, Go is one of those websites that they try to promote themselves as family values, Christian kind of thing. And they'll let you raise money for anything. A lot of con artists and scammers and grifters use Give, Send, Go because Give, Send, Go apparently doesn't give two shits about what you're doing with their website or why you're raising money on there. And I guess they don't actually even care if people get what they pay into it, like if they're donating for a purpose. I guess Give, Send, Go just doesn't care. That's kind of weird for a thing. But I'm betting if you dig deep into who runs that website, you might come up with some familiar names. Yeah, that won't be a surprise. Anyway, we're going to move on. But Mangione, yeah, trying to turn him into a folk hero and trying to help pay for his defense, which, I guess is okay. It's America. You can do whatever you want. You can donate to help someone's legal defense. I don't know if he has any involvement or if he even is aware that this is going on, because obviously he couldn't set this up himself. I don't think the court would let him do that. And it's not set up by a family member. So, yeah, I'm wondering if he's even aware of it. And we're going to have to pay attention to that. Somebody's going to have to pay attention to see if the money even gets to him. Because, that's what a scam artist would do. A con artist would go out there and set this up and go, I'm raising money for this, and then just never give it to the person. And GiveSendGo is never going to give a shit. So you can just run off with the funds and go to the Bahamas or something and take a nice little vacation. But that is the situation with him. And he, of course, pled not guilty. And I see it all the time now. Everybody says pleaded. He pleaded. And I'm not sure. I don't know. I was raised on pled. He pled guilty. You are going to plead. Or how do you plead? But the person pled guilty. But everybody says pleaded now. And I'm not sure if it's right. I do know that it annoys me, even if it is right. Because, I don't know. I don't think that's what they said on, the old court shows. Like, what was that? What was that show? Like the attorney guy. And I don't mean Andy Griffith. I mean the other guy. Anyway, there was an Ozzy Osbourne song, Perry Mason. I had to think of Ozzy Osbourne in order to get to the guy's name, Perry Mason. I'm going to have to Google and pull up some old Perry Mason episodes to see if they say pled guilty or pleaded guilty. That might be yet another conspiracy that we have to look into, because I don't like it. I don't like pleaded. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit with the rest of the English language and how we use words. And anyway, we're going to move on from that. We can do a whole episode on pled versus pleaded, but I don't think anyone would listen. So anyway, Luigi Mangione. I haven't seen much in the news about him, actually, other than the pleading and the extradition stuff and all of that. But I don't know if he's going to kind of fade into the background for a while until they get to the court dates and stuff. Because it's probably going to be pushed quite a ways down the road. There's going to be a lot involved in a case with this sort of magnitude and this sort of notoriety and things like that. It's not going to happen overnight, especially in a large city. There's probably several dozen other murderers that need to be put on trial before we get to him. So it could take a year or two before he ever actually goes on trial and we have any kind of an outcome. But in the meantime, I don't know. I'm assuming he's going to have a fan club, just like your handsome serial killers and stuff. So he's going to have his own little fan club. He's going to have his own fundraising apparatus that's going to provide him with, a full canteen fund or what do they call that now? I don't know. Commissary fund or something. But, I don't think he's going to have a very good time in prison, but I think he might have a better time than most. Because notoriety, I think, can work both ways. It can make you a target in prison, or it can make you popular in prison. And so, I don't know. I guess it depends on how many prisoners had problems with their health care and whether or not they appreciate what you did for them. But I haven't seen anything yet that says that he's suffered at the hands of United Healthcare at all, or anything like that. There is information out there about his own back problems and about a back surgery and things like that. But from what I can find out right now, he didn't even use United Healthcare as his coverage. So I don't think anyone understands why he picked that guy to be his target, other than he was probably easy. It was an easy target. There's also one consideration, and that is that it could be somebody else in his family may have had United Healthcare and had problems with it, or it might just be because it's the largest healthcare insurance or, whatever they call it nowadays, provider. So it may have just been because of the size of the company and the notoriety of the company and things like that. But I couldn't find anything yet to indicate that he had any kind of a beef specifically with United Healthcare. I'm going to keep looking. I haven't been looking every day, I'll be honest with you, because there's been so many other things going on in the world. But you got to keep your eye on it. But I think it's going to be a while before we get anything new and fresh in this whole Luigi Mangione soap opera. And so we're going to have to be patient and talk about some other things for a while. And I think the big one is the Russians shooting down the airplane. So I guess there's going to be some debate over whether or not Russia did shoot down an airplane. But if you type in Russia shoots down plane in Google, you get taken directly to it, to Reuters, Washington Post, Fox, CBS, ABC, Politico, NPR, everybody. So that's an easy search string right there. Russia shoots down plane. But Azerbaijan, it was a plane from Azerbaijan, and all evidence right now points to Russia shooting it down in over Kazakhstan. Now, nobody is saying that Russia did it on purpose. Russia, how do you put this? Russia sucks when it comes to war, and their equipment sucks and their personnel suck. They're poorly trained. They're poorly equipped. They don't want to be there. Many of them are conscripts anyway, and their equipment is incredibly unreliable, and it's garbage. And everyone on Earth is afraid of them for some reason. We're not. But I don't understand why everyone else is, because probably Finland could kick their ass in a fight. And Finland just took one of their boats. That's kind of funny. There's the old saying, don't touch the boats. But yeah, Finland just basically stole one of Russia's boats. But they didn't do it on purpose. Just like when they shot the airliner down over Ukraine, they didn't do it on purpose. But they're going to lie, and they're going to obfuscate, and they're going to conceal, and they're going to point the finger in other directions, and they're going to try their best to not take blame for that happening, just like they did with the airliner over Ukraine. But Russia does hold the record for the country that's shot down the most civilian airliners, because in the last 40 years, they've shot down 3 of them. One in Korea, South Korea, the one over Ukraine, and now the one over Kazakhstan. That's just the ones we know of. I don't know. I may have missed one, since it seems to be such a frequent occurrence with them. And yeah, the United States shot one down too, in the Persian Gulf. We shot down an Iranian airliner. Maybe. That's a whole other conspiracy that people can talk about that is quite old. They may not remember it. But maybe we'll talk about that on one of the episodes, because it's in my memory. But some people may not remember that. And the story changed over time, quite a few times. But I don't know. We'll talk about that another time. But as far as Russia shooting down this plane, again, I don't believe that they did this on purpose. I don't think they just looked up in the sky and said, hey, there's an airliner, let's shoot it down. They were obviously shooting at other things or trying to lock onto other things. Either the missile itself broke away from its intended target and found a new one and went off, or it locked onto the wrong thing in the beginning and was launched, and nobody figured out that it was going to the wrong thing until a plane crashed. So it's ugly. And why there are active air defense wartime things happening on the ground under civilian air traffic, I don't know. If there's like an active war happening, you would think they would shut down the airspace over that so that civilians are not flying through it or anywhere near it, for that matter. And yeah, these things can have massive ranges. But if someone is shooting anti-air missiles and things into civilian airspace, then they need to be shut down immediately. Like, even if that was confined to Russia or Ukraine's borders, or let's throw Belarus in there too, because they're really nothing but a puppet of Putin. So let's say those air defenses are in Belarus and inside the occupied territories in Ukraine or whatever. If they're shooting outside of that airspace into civilian air traffic and taking down airliners, NATO should have started a bombing campaign immediately and should just eliminate all of the air defenses in that area and prevent them from shooting down any more civilians. It's exactly what they should do. And yeah, we're going to escalate to World War III. No, we're not. If we were going to escalate to World War III, we would have to attack 90 countries. Russia can't handle us, let alone they can't handle Western Europe. They can't handle their neighbors. They've been trying to take over Ukraine for 10 years, and they can't. So it's not like Russia's going to touch off World War III if they get punched in the nose a little bit. They're crazy, and they're a bunch of warmongers and thieves, and, organized crime figures is all they are, organized crime figures with an army. But they aren't stupid enough to start launching nukes at people because they know that they won't survive. It's the end. So, yeah, I say NATO or just the United States on our own needs to go through that area anywhere out, any item, any missile system that can fire outside of the designated war zone needs to be taken out. That's what I would do. I would send in our stealth aircraft and some special missiles and fancy stuff and just take them out so that they're no longer a risk to civilian air traffic. And you just tell Russia, this is all we're going to do. We're just going to take out all of your things that may be a risk to civilian air traffic. And then you can go on having your stupid little war thing for a while. But we're not going to let you do this ever again. So anything that you have that's capable of reaching outside of your area of responsibility, we're going to destroy it. Or you can pack it up and take it back home. You can give them options. You can give them those two options. But if our government had any balls whatsoever, they would have someone in Moscow right now explaining to Russia that they're going to remove those air defenses from those areas and bring them back into Russia, or we're going to blow them the fuck up. That's all they need to do. And if Russia says, oh, no, we don't have to do that, that wasn't us, someone else was responsible, then we just blow them up. If they're going to say they're somebody else's, then they can't get upset that we blew them up, can they? Because they aren't theirs. We didn't do that. That's not ours. Okay, then it's gone. They can't come back later and say, you blew up our air defense. Well, I thought it wasn't yours. You told us it wasn't yours, Vlad. But that's what they should do. And I'm not an anti-war person. There are times when war is absolutely necessary. And there are times when war is absolutely effective in solving problems. So all of those people who say violence solves nothing, they're full of shit, because sometimes the violence absolutely does solve problems. It just depends on which end of the violence you're on. It may not solve a problem for you because you may be the one having violence perpetrated against you. But for the violent person, sometimes that violence absolutely resolves their issues. And if their issue is you keep shooting down our civilian airliners, so now we're going to force you to stop, then violence can solve that problem. A few explosions here and there. Yeah, some Russian air defense guys are going to die, but whatever. Doesn't matter. I guess as long as it's fewer than those that they killed on those airplanes that they shot down, I guess it's even, right? It's fair. But nobody's going to punch Russia in the nose like they should. They should. They absolutely should. But in Korea, there was another air disaster today or last night or whenever it was. I learned about it this morning with 179 people believed to be dead. They're blaming it on a potential bird strike on an engine, and that's one of the things that always just scares the crap out of me is those things that you can't control. Like you can have a plane malfunction and lose control of it and it crashes because it just stopped functioning in midair. Same thing with a helicopter or something, and even with a car. But to have a perfectly fine aircraft and then something happens to it that you can't control, like a bird strikes it, or, oh, gee, I don't know, an air defense missile. and now you can't control it, but it's going down and you can't do anything about it. So everyone on that plane probably knows that they're going to die and the plane is going to crash, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. And most of them are probably alive all the way until they hit the ground. And but it's horrible. It's terrible. There have been so many plane crashes in my lifetime, and it's yeah, I don't like planes at all anymore. I used to love flying. When I was young, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I was actually, I took a couple of lessons. I was going to get my pilot's license, and then that became way too expensive, so I wasn't able to keep going with that. But after a few years, I was like, yeah, no, I don't think I really want to be in a plane anymore. I don't like it. I don't like it anymore. And so, yeah, I haven't flown in a while. And to me, it's a lot more convenient to just get in a car and drive, because nowadays it takes you 12 hours to fly somewhere that you could drive there in 6 hours anyway. Because you got so many layovers, they're going to fly you to this hub and then that hub and change flights and change this and do that. And you've got a 4-hour layover because they're trying to make the most money they can make off of you. And you could just get in your car and drive there in 6 hours. So that's typically what I do, unless I have to fly somewhere way, way far away. But there were a lot of times in the military when I was in the National Guard and in the reserves, they would say, we're going to send you to this place to go there for this, 30-day training rotation or whatever. I would say, okay, use your travel card and get on and reserve your tickets and stuff. And I would just say, nah, I'm just going to drive. I'm just getting my truck and drive down there. And that way I had transportation there. I didn't cost the government money by renting a car once I got there. And I didn't have to deal with all the airport bullshit on the way there or the way back. And I determined how long it was going to take me to get there. If I want to drive all day without stopping, I can get there in 12 hours. No problem. But most of the places that they needed me to go were within 9 or 10 hours drive anyway. So I would rather just do that. Even if it was 6 hours of flying, 9 hours of driving was a lot more appealing to me than dealing with the airports and the airplanes and the other passengers and people who think wearing pajamas and flip-flops is the way that you should travel and things like that. People don't have any class anymore, and I'm sorry, I just can't deal with it most of the time. So I'd rather just avoid all of those people, the idiots in the TSA, and just drive. Just fill up the truck and go. And it's a lot easier, a lot nicer. I can stop whenever I want. I'm going to stop and get something to eat, or I need to stretch. Yeah, done. No point in me getting on a plane at all. And things like this don't encourage me otherwise. So that's it's my take on air travel these days. So actually, man, I think it may be close to 10 years since I was on a plane. I'll have to think about it. But it's probably at least 8 years since I was on a plane. I think the last time I was on a plane, I went down to Raton, New Mexico with the guys from Soldier of Fortune magazine, down to the NRA Whittington Center, and had a great time for a week. And that was fun. I used to do those things because for those of you who don't know, I used to write for Soldier of Fortune magazine. And we used to have these get-togethers twice a year down in Raton. And they still do, as far as I know. I haven't been in a long time because I don't have time to do it really anymore. And Soldier of Fortune isn't really a thing anymore. It's still a thing, but somebody else owns it. Bob Brown sold it and is essentially retired now, which is amazing because he's in his 80s. And wow, how old is he now? Oh, he might be 90. I don't know. How old are you, Bob? I'll have to ask. But yeah, so he's enjoying retirement, and I haven't been down there in a while, but fascinating group of guys, historic stuff you learn about and you talk about, and you get to understand firsthand because the person who did it was the person who was there explaining it to you. So yeah, a pretty fun and fascinating period of my life. I have no complaints about any of it. It was great. But most of the time, people don't understand the things that I've done because I'll be talking and somebody will bring up, believe it or not, even today, occasionally someone will bring up Soldier of Fortune magazine because they'll be talking about it and they'll be like, man, I remember when I was a teenager and this is the reason why I bought this first gun I had because I saw it in Soldier of Fortune magazine. And, and I'll have to say, I used to work for Soldier of Fortune magazine. And they'll be like, no, you didn't. I'm like, yes, I did. My picture's in it. And, and I would have to show it to them and be like, yeah, you see this? This is me on the cover of Soldier of Fortune magazine. And, yeah, people don't believe it. But, yeah, I lucked out. I lucked out on that one. And Bob was very, very gracious and let me be a part of it for a while. And before the magazine ceased to exist. So I was there before they stopped putting out a print version. And then up until they sold it. And, yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. But I don't know. Not a lot to talk about in the conspiracy realm, except for all of the conspiracies that happened in and around Soldier of Fortune magazine. But I'm not gonna talk about that right now. Maybe someday we can discuss those. And but I don't know how we got on that. But that was the last time I was on a plane. I think was when I went to Raton, New Mexico, to hang out with the Soldier of Fortune guys at the Whittington Center. Which also, if you are a shooter, if you're an NRA member, if you like outdoorsy stuff, and you've got the time, go down to the NRA Whittington Center. Like I said, I haven't been there in a while, but it's like 25,000 acres of ranges and stuff. If you're into shooting, there's basically every type of shooting you can imagine is available down there. And just go down there and have a great time. We used to go down there and do trap shooting for like days. Because I never realized how much fun it was until I got started. And I spent several days down there just doing trap shooting with different guys. Fun times. And, if you get the chance, go down there. Check it out. They have these neat little cabins that you can stay in and stuff. So, yeah, it's like a full service thing. And you'll enjoy it if you're into that. But if not, whatever. You're weird. But, so, what else? I think that's about all we're going to talk about today. But we're going to have to keep our eyes on what happens with the Azerbaijan plane, because we need to stay on top of that to find out if there's ever going to be any evidence revealed or released to the public about Russia being responsible for it and showing that evidence and putting it out there, kind of like they did the was it MH-70? Information where they were showing pieces of the missiles, and the people from Bellingcat actually tracked down which anti-aircraft missile launcher was used, where it was, everything. And I'm assuming things like that are happening right now around this one. But a lot of it hasn't gotten out to the public yet, because the people who do those sorts of things don't release that information until they absolutely know. So that's the difference between some dumbass on the internet talking about something and an actual professional organization who does these sorts of investigations. They're not going to be guessing. When they put it out at the end, it's going to be factual and it's going to be precise, and they aren't going to guess at anything. And if they don't know, they'll just tell you they don't know. But Bellingcat is another very, very good organization. And if you are not familiar with them, just Google it, or, use something else. I don't know, DuckDuckGo, whatever. But they have an amazing website that'll show you the things that they do, and it will also give you tips and tricks on how you can do it, how to learn how to do open source intelligence investigations and research, things like that. And you can go there and read the investigations that they've conducted over the years. And it's amazing what some civilians can get done when they put their minds to it, if they possess the skills necessary. So that's my tip for today. Go check out Bellingcat if you aren't familiar with it. Actually, just so there's no confusion, let me Google it so you can see it. And I'll put it up on the screen for you so we can do the screen share. Okay, Bellingcat. That's the word right there. That's the name of the organization. And they have their own website that you can't see right now because my face is covering it up, but I'm going to click on it and go to their website. But this is what you're looking for. It's the Bellingcat website. And let me, I can actually turn myself off so you can see it better. this is what you're going to find. They're going to show you these investigations that they conducted and their findings, and you're going to get the whole deal. So check them out, and you might learn something, because they have these actual little courses and stuff that you can take to learn how to do open source investigations. It's very helpful, and it's brilliant. So good luck with that. Go check that out. But I suspect that they may be working on some of that too, because they kind of, the last few years, they've kind of specialized in Russia stuff. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Going to keep an eye on Mangione, see what happens with him, and probably keep an eye on that Give, Send, Go crowdfunding thing, see how high that goes up to. And I'll see if there's a way we can keep track and see if he ever actually gets the money. Who knows? Maybe he will. Maybe he'll be the richest guy in his cell block. I don't know. But I'll catch you next time. Keep in touch. Let me know if there's something else you want to talk about. Put it down in the comments or something. Anyway, I'm out.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Really? Just Stop with your host, Ross. Make sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss a dose of some common sense.